Greeting people, how are you all? I'm back again with another of the episodes of season 2, and this is episode 6. I'm Monilsa Joshi, your host for the evening, and today I have another interesting guest with me who is not only a consulting homeopath but also a writer. And this is the best part of this whole interview segment that I'm doing these days, that I get to meet so many people from different walks of life, and they are writing also. That is their another passion, and it's so interesting to know their journey. So let me quickly invite Dr. Aparna. Hi Aparna, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Welcome to Mona Lisa's talk show, and it's
Thank
really
you.
a
Thank you
pleasure
so
to
much.
meet you. So how was your day?
Today it was total rest day. I was on a crocodile mood, not moving at all, lying down with a good book. So all relaxed.
Okay.
How about you?
Very nice. Yeah, I had a relaxing day, of course, because yesterday was my birthday, so it was like family fun and all.
Oh,
So today I was relaxing a
so
lot.
we have to customarily sing the birthday song. So wish you a very, very, very happy birthday. And I think all of them who have joined us will put their hands together and sing a small little song. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you so
I
much.
hope
For you.
I hope they don't run away with my croaking. So
No. So I'm really happy to be conversing with you, because it's always good to know new people, new writers, and I get to learn so much from them. And I think today is also going to be an interesting session. So before I start, I would be happy if you tell a little bit about yourself to the audience.
about myself.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, I am a doctor, a homeopath practicing in Mumbai, and I have a family of 6 here. I stay in a joint family, and in my spare time, I write. But now, after the first book, writing has taken precedence over other all activities. I have been a voracious reader since childhood. Whether it is a comic or it is a magazine or it is Enid Blyton or Harry Potter. So reading was always a part of my life. So I'm a reader, and now I'm trying to be a writer. I don't know whether I have accomplished that phase. Only my reviews will let me know that. But yes, that is what I do, and I also teach. I teach biology to from 8th grade to 12th grade, and that is how I'm enjoying life.
Very nice. So, as I was going through your profile, I noticed, and you also mentioned that you are a consulting homeopath. So, I would be happy if you tell me that since you've written that writing is your passion, and you are also a doctor, so how did this passion ignite and when?
So passion for writing was always there as a student, as a 4th grader, 5th grader. I started writing for my school magazines, essays, short stories, and then later on for our medical college, I used to write down patient profiles and stories related to patients, how doctors deal with patients. So it started from there, and the lockdown gave me an opportunity, because my husband is also a doctor. So the two of us, we couldn't be practicing simultaneously. So I had to take a break during the lockdown. And that is when I started pursuing writing as a serious business, learning and writing. So I wrote about, say, close to 350 odd stories on various platforms. Apart in a span of 2 to 3 years, I wrote those stories, getting feedbacks, and slowly, as I received feedback, I found that I was able to write, and I was able to live a stress-free life because of writing. I mean, while editing your stories, it does give you a lot of stress, but yes, while you are writing them, you are transported to a totally different world. So that passion, which started with a little kind of flame, it advanced to a burning fire, where I every day I look up to my reading and my writing time. So that is
what
how
are
it
your
has been.
short stories mostly about? I mean, what kind of genre do you choose?
I'm a very simple person like that, so I don't write anything that is complicated as such. But I love to explore human behavior and human relationships. How in a given scenario, 10 different people will react 10 different ways, and what stimulated that behavior. Those 10 different people, their backstories, their experiences, their expressions. So I love to just talk about human relationships. My favorite genre being the literary. I like to read literary fiction a lot because it goes very, very deep into human psyche, and it tells you many things apart from what the action has been. If a particular individual has given out an action, there are many things that have happened beyond that action, a lot of thought process. So literary fiction allows me to delve into the minds of my character, the depth. So literary fiction is one thing that I love to. And also I love to read middle grade fiction, children fiction.
Yeah.
Because I love the way children fiction takes you into different worlds, from reality to fantasy. So children's fiction is another thing that I love to read.
Okay.
I keep my hands off from thrillers and suspense, because future itself is suspense. So I get a little I get pulled down while I read thrillers. But as a student of literature or a student of writing, creative writing, I read it as a piece of study material. But what I enjoy is literary fiction anytime.
Interesting. That's nice. I also like literary fiction, of course. Who won't? And tell me a little more about yourself. Like, where were you born, and how did you get your education, and why did you choose homeopathy as a profession?
Okay, so I was born here in Mumbai, born and brought up in Mumbai itself, in an era when it was called as Bombay. So I am a typical Bombay girl with a lot of dreams on my mind, a lot of tasks on my sleeves. And so medicine was something that was not up on my agenda. I wanted to pursue journalism. So I'm just, being very open about it, is that, but I missed my journalism forms by a date, filling up the forms, and simultaneously my results for medicine were out and I secured admission in a government college. So that's it. So what else family and parents, they do, you're getting into why you want to go for journalism and why you want to risk yourself being a girl or a woman. This is a very secured kind of profession. Being in, the doctors is a very secured kind of profession, or respectable profession. So yes, so I took my jump at that time, and I kept aside journalism. But I think somewhere that the desire to tell stories was always there, and that's how medicine happened, and later on writing happened.
So whenever you are seeing your patients, and like you must be surrounded by so many people, do you ever get ideas from any of their life stories or something like that? Does it happen?
Too many ideas, because they're constantly sharing things. So if you look at my Facebook post, I keep talking about my patients, my students, people who come and they tell me something. So I love to explore that a lot, and when I'm listening to them, I feel I'm mentally writing something, and when I come back home, I jot it down, a particular quirk or a particular expression, or some kind of dilemma that patient is going through. People provide you with unique dilemmas, I tell you. Even if on the surface we feel that everyone is going through the same kind of turmoil, it is not like that. The guilt each one of us feels, the rejection, the happiness, the shame, anything that is there, it is very unique to every person. And I think luckily homeopathy helps me to deal with that, because homeopathy is a science where we treat a patient individualistically. So it allows me to talk to them for a long time. My first case takes about 30-45 minutes, and in that process the patient opens up layers by layers. So yes, my lot of inspirations for my stories come from my patients, from my students.
Wow. So let's talk about your book now, the novel, The Labyrinth of Silence. It's your full-length novel. First of all, I would like to know that why did you choose this title? And I would also like to know a little more about this book.
Okay, so the title was something that came to me when I was writing the plot, when I was thinking about the plot, and all my characters, they respond to any situation with silence. Okay, whether it is a negative character, whether it is a character who's fixed up in life, whether it is a character who's searching for meaning in life, all my characters have this thing that they are responding with silence initially, and later on there are certain events that help them open up. So I found that all of these people, all of my characters are, navigating their ways. They are walking their own journeys beside each other, but they are not able to come out of it. So maze was something that came up to me, and then I thought labyrinth is something, a better word than to say maze of silence. So silence has wrapped them. It is their identity now. The character's identity is is reflected in their silent musings. So, and they are fixed up. They all are fixed up. Like we are also fixed up in our life somewhere, and that is why the book, the title says Labyrinth. Now, speaking about the novel, it is about 4 people, written in 3 sections. So the first section is about a mute girl called Mukhi. Her actual name is Mukta, but in Marathi, it is Mukta means Mukta's short form. People have given her a short form Mukhi because she is mute. So the first section deals with Mukhi, second is with Girish, and third is Kashi. Whereas the fourth character, Narmada, she makes appearance in every section through her writings. She writes a diary, she writes letters. So through her letters and diaries, she makes an appearance in every section. She is one woman who is tying all these 3 different individuals into a thread, into a, you can say a abnormal kind of family. They aren't those typical husband and wife and children kind of people. They have circumstantially become a family due to some circumstances, and each one is fighting with their inner demons. There is an underlying theme of child sexual abuse in this book, and one of the character is is trying to come out of the traumas of childhood, and there are other characters who get affected because of this particular character's childhood trauma. So here I have tried to show how one individual who is traumatized as a child behaves as an adult, and how it has a rippling effect on the other individuals who meet him as a society. So the novel, though is fiction, it is based in the city of Belgaum, which is now called as Belgavi in Karnataka, and it has an underlying theme of the Karnataka, Maharashtra, the border issues that existed in the 90s. So we are dealing with that as well, how the political scenario, it affects the character's life, their reactions, their relationships. So silence is the theme, relationships another, and a fractured family life, a fractured family, a broken family life, how it comes together. Okay, that is what the book deals with.
So all the stories are somehow interwoven into each other, kind of that?
No, it is a single story. The characters' lives are interwoven with each other. So Mukhi is a maid who's working for architect Girish. He has a huge mansion, and they have a 20 years age difference, and she has fallen in love, hopelessly in love with him. And so you people have to read the story. I can't give out more details.
But I understand. So your book brings me to another interesting question. Since you have a background in homeopathy and all, it is mostly seen or strongly believed that writing fraternity, those who have education majorly in literature, they are like, they choose this profession more, writing. So would you agree with it, or did any difficulty come to you when you were writing your first novel? How much difficult was it for you to frame sentences in a very proper styled manner?
It was very, very difficult, because coming from a medical profession, we are not used to write long sentences or clear sentences or take notes. We have short forms everywhere. So frankly speaking, many a times articles used to get omitted from my sentences, and because you are not used to writing in that style in your profession. But yes, because I was constantly pursuing creative writing, I had a bunch of friends who I still have them, and they used to visit my story, look at it, dissect it, look at each sentence and say, see, this is wrong, this is how it has to be. So it did help me a lot to learn afresh. Learning English while learning creative writing was a different experience, rather than learning English just as a student is a total different experience. So yes, it was difficult initially, and the most difficult part came after I wrote Girish segment. After I wrote, because the three different voices had to be there. Mukhi had to be different, Girish had to be different, and Kashi had to be different. And none of it should sound like Aparna. That was my whole game. So if you, many people tell me that I write very funny posts on Facebook. That is me. But my characters are not at all funny. Book is not funny. And people have had the shock of their life when they read the book, saying that this is so very serious. I said, that is what the characters are. That is not me. So the most difficult part came when I wanted to switch from Girish to Kashi, because Girish is a middle-aged man having his crisis in his 50s, whereas Kashi is a bubbly young girl, in her 90s, 19 and 20 years old girl. So the voice had to be very different. So I took a 6-month break after I wrote Girish. He had to be completely wiped off from my mind. And then, so that was the most difficult part, to change the voice, the emotions when you write.
And how did you get into that frame of mind, portraying the character's age? How did you get into that frame, that how would a 50-year man would think, or how would a 19-year-old girl would think?
I watched a lot of documentaries of people, how people in their 50s talk, or how a 20-year-old will talk and behave, and especially in the 90s. Not now. Okay. So a 20-year-old now and a 20-year-old in the 90s, there is a stark difference. So I did watch some old serials and old documentaries where people of what kind of clothes they were wearing. Now, because Belgaum happens to be a place where I have spent my vacations. My maternal grandmother used to stay there. So I did have inking of what kind of clothes or food the people ate. But still, I was not 20 that time. I was nearly 8 and 10 when I used to visit Belgaum. So I watched a lot of documentaries. I read a lot of books where people, books on middle age crisis, how a man, because as a woman, we have written a lot of stories which are women oriented. And I wanted to challenge myself as a writer, where I wanted to share a man's perspective of life, or a man's perspective on relationship. So books written by male authors from male point of views, and documentaries and certain TV shows, they help me a lot. And obviously observation of people around, how 50-year-old will behave and how a 20-year-old would behave, that certainly helps.
So definitely a lot of efforts can be seen from your side, and I would be happy if you tell me how much time it actually took you to complete the novel, and then sending it to the publishers, and then finally it came as a book. So what was the time?
Total of 3 years. Total of 3 years. 3.
Okay.
Out of which the first half of the book was written in 6 months. But the last part, the Kashi part, as I told you, I had to take a 6 months break and then revisit the book. So it took 1.5 years, and then 6 months I was pursuing my publisher, calling, mailing, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And last Jan, I signed my contract. That is 2023. I signed on the dotted lines, and I think April 2024, the book is here. So it took a year for the publisher to publish the editing process. Later on, the cover design and.
Can you show it? The book? Do you have it?
It is always up my sleeve like this.
Okay, wow, interesting. The Labyrinth of Silence. Okay, we'll come to that segment where you would be reading out an excerpt or a page maybe, but let's just have some more questions. I want to know that you have mentioned in your profile that you have written so many short stories, and there's also this ebook called Not So Grave, which you have published on Kindle. So are you planning to get it published in paperback, or you are happy with the Kindle version, and do you plan to publish more of these ebooks? I mean, what is the concept that you believe in? Ebooks are comfortable to you, or you like that ink on paper kind of feel?
No, I'm a very, very traditional person. So ink on paper, anytime ink on paper. As a reader also, I like to read ink on paper, but I have now started reading on Kindle because the volume of books that I keep buying every month, I purchase them. So it's 3-4 books in a month, and I really do not have that much of space to keep them. So now I have switched over to Kindle as well, and Kindle is helping me. Because I can underline, I can open up a dictionary there, and my vocabulary improves. So Kindle helps me. If I have to publish my second book, I have seen that still in India we have a lot of people who prefer the ink on paper method. Okay, so KDP or Kindle, where it gives you a lot of independence to do what you want, the way you want it. Everything is transparent, open, right there in front of your eyes. But it does not have much of viewership, okay, unless and until you are a very, very famous writer by whose name people pick up books. You do not get that much visibility, and visibility is only in the bookstores, because there are a lot of people, whatever we say that the digital media has taken over, but still in India I see a lot of youngsters in crosswords, in local bookstores, browsing through the books, picking up a book just because they like the cover. I think for me it is always ink on paper.
Same with me. Well, you can understand that already, because I'm a publisher, so I am also a lover of paperbacks and all. Okay, there's a question coming from Anamika Kundu. She wants to know that 3 years is a long time. What kept you ticking about your book?
Hi, ma'am. So Anamika ma'am has been with me since my first story. The first story that I had written for a particular platform. She has been there with me, correcting my grammatical mistakes, my vocabulary, telling me this, not this, like that, not like that. So I think, ma'am, 3 years, because I have written 65,000 words. And writing 65,000 words is a massive effort. So after 40,000 words, I knew I could not turn back. I just cannot let it sit in my in my profile, in my laptop, just like that. So I had to. The last 20,000 words were difficult, 25,000, but yes, 3 years I had to do it. I somehow I did it. It just came over me and I did it. I really do not have a strong answer, but yes, after you cross the 35,000 word mark, you are motivated. You are already there, and that story won't let you sleep. It is
absolutely.
It will not let you rest in peace.
So another question from Monica Singh. Tell us about the best feedback you have received for your book that made you see something new about your novel and a new perspective that you didn't have before that feedback.
I think that was again from Monica. First feedback that I got, because Monica worked with me as a developmental editor as well, and she sent me a voice message, and she had a lump in her throat while she was reading it, and she said, I finally finished. reading it, because when I finished 18,000 words, I had written this as a novella for Penmancy in their telethon session. And after that, Monica told me, why don't you take this ahead, Aparna? This is somewhere, it is not going to stop. This story does not feel complete. And she gave me the last scene of my book. She told me, tell us what happens in between, She told me the last scene. And from 18K to 65K, I went only on that last scene in my mind, that everything that is happening should come down to this particular point. So I think, Monica, it was your first feedback, because, first child, first rain, first love, first book, and first feedbacks are always very close to your heart. So I think as my editor, whatever feedback she gave me, while she spoke, she had a lump in her throat, and that is something that was priceless to me.
And I have to tell you that so many comments have dropped in. Do visit to the page and please answer them. They would be so happy. And I want to know another thing from you, that you do some sort of voluntary work for this Goonj Foundation. So tell me more about it.
Okay, so Goonj is a foundation that was founded by Anshul Gupta, and he is also a Padma Bhushan awardee. He has been awarded in 2010 or 2015 by the President of India. So what does Goonj do? Goonj is a foundation which collects old material from you. They collect old clothes, old utensils, books, whatever you can give in your capacities, as well as new clothes, food grains, books, all the utilities. And they pick up a rural village. They pick up a village for development. They visit that village. Their on-field workers, they go to that village. They take up the development work. Suppose there is a school which has to be built up there, or a bridge across the river which is flooded during rivers. So whatever material has been collected is given to the villagers in the form of packets. They press the clothes, they wash the clothes, they make it new, and they ask the village to participate in their own development. So if a school has to be built, the villagers will come and build the school, the bridge, everything, and Goonj will provide them the infrastructure. And whatever clothes and food has been collected are later made into packages and are distributed. They also make sanitary napkins from our old bed sheets, cotton saris. Then so what I do, I'm a volunteer. I organize camps at my coaching class, and students and parents are requested to bring old stuff from home and even new stuff if they want. And we gather it together on a particular day and we send it to the Goonj office. So we do it once or twice a year, camps. So these camps are being done all over India. Pan-India, Goonj has their offices. And all a volunteer has to do is organize a camp, spread a word that there is a camp and people can bring their old clothes which are in a good condition. And I am seeing that people are contributing new goods as well. So it is going all good right now.
Okay. Wow. And I was also going through your profile, and I also got to know that you teach biology, as you were mentioning earlier in the beginning. So I really want to know that when your book came out, I think you must be having a good fan following of those students as well. That wow, ma'am has got out a book and we should read it.
First book, yes, because the first book was titled La Jawab Pizza, and it was written by 7 people, 7 of us together, and it was also published by Vishwakarma Publications. So the first book, the title was such, and they were like, what is in it? Do you have pizza recipes inside? I said, no, it does not have pizza recipes inside. But each ingredient of pizza, that is, it could be mushrooms, onions, ketchup, the dove use. So each ingredient of pizza has a characteristic. And a similar characteristic you will find in human nature. And we build up stories. Like the onion story, it shows onion has layers. So how a particular person has layers in his life, in his personality, and how he or she sheds those layers during various phases. A mushroom was written by me, and it talks how the mushroom, it's such a beautiful organism, but it grows in the filth. So it was a story about a prostitute and her daughter. So both of them have a great relationship, but the filth around them. So these were the stories, 7 stories that were written, and that created a lot of interest in the students. So the first book, yes. The second book,
Even it's sounding so interesting, you're telling me, and it's sounding
yes,
so
the stories
interesting
were,
that I should go quickly and buy this book.
you please do both the books, Lajawab Pizza and The Labyrinth of Silence. Labyrinth of Silence, my students have still not picked up because the reading age of this book is about 15 years.
Yeah.
So I'm a little skeptical about younger children, you know. I don't want them to be traumatized with the realities of life. So yes, not the second book, but this first one, yes, amazing. My students received it.
Okay.
Anyway.
So anything you want to read from your book? Would like to, the audience will get some taste of what you have written.
Sure. So I'm reading a section. This is the book. I'll show it for once again. This is the book, and I'm reading a piece from Girish's section, and here it goes. The indifference to her hanging body and the aloofness to her burning flesh was the funeral of his feelings for her. How he wished he had seen more of her, apart from the mole on her neck and the curve of her smile and the jingle of the bangles. Yet, all this was potent enough to create ripples in his heart, the bit open to spill sanguine longings. The loose wild tendrils hanging from the sturdy branches reminded him of her slant, sloppy strands. The dance of her wayward strands, when she worked around him in perfect silence, was all he could remember now. The face that bore her weight was slowly fading from his memory. He wanted to relive this dance again. Like she captured her emotion in verses, he wished to collect her image in his cupped palm. He had to be quick. The face was withdrawing itself from the recesses of his mind. He was never a poet. How could he be verbose about these ephemeral entities? He had the pencil and the paper at his command. Realization dawned onto him, and he knew what he had to do after returning to the mansion. Yet, he didn't want to return before the storm of questions settled.
Wow, that's quite intriguing.
Thank you.
Lovely. So now let's begin with the rapid fire. So there are some interesting questions, and I would be so happy if you have to answer them quickly. Okay?
Sure. Done.
What are you currently reading?
Currently, I just told you I am reading 2 books. One of them is this, Demi-Gods Are Alive by Mona Lisa Joshi. I am reading that. And another book that I am reading is short stories by Alice Munro, The Love of a Good Woman. So both are short stories collections, and currently I'm reading short stories because they act like a good break between 2 huge novels when you read. So I'm reading both the books. I read 2-3 books at a time, so that is what I'm reading.
Okay. So next, I would like to know, what do you like to do most in your free time? Anything that, any other hobby apart from writing?
I would just like to sit doing nothing. Doing nothing. There is a joy in doing nothing. You know, all the people who are watching us, please try it out. Just don't do anything for half an hour and see the kind of, freshness that you feel after doing nothing. So sometimes I really...
You must...
Nothing is nothing, not even thinking,
Okay. How do you do that? I'm like amazed to know that in nothing we actually contribute. Okay.
No, it sometimes, I just keep staring out of the window. I just feel the breeze blowing across my face. There could be a mug of coffee in my hand, and the flavor of coffee, the bittersweet feeling. And that is what I do sometimes, just shut myself from all the stimuli that are coming, thinking about the reviews, thinking about writing the next book, thinking about what has to be put in the pressure cooker next. There is so much. So sometimes I just watch, something very random, a cat passing by on the road, a couple standing near the tree, and, so I'm in their life. I don't know. It sounds very, but
It's kind of poetic.
sometimes no poetic. This is plain life that I just watch something that is happening around me. I am just an audience and not thinking about what is next up my sleeve. So doing nothing is
But
something I love.
I believe that in your subconscious somewhere you are absorbing a lot, and I feel that that comes out when you're writing. It happens as I also have experienced such thing that when you're doing nothing, you are subconsciously alert.
Possibly. But I try to be alert to the simple things like the coffee in my hand, to the breeze that is blowing, and to the cat that is passing. So I'm just alert towards those things, and luckily I have been able to do that with a lot of training to my own self, that I just concentrate and I feel gratitude, surfacing in my heart.
Yeah.
I'm flown with gratitude. So I stay in that moment for about 20 minutes or so. Very spiritual, oh my God.
Okay. No, people believe it, that gratitude is actually something that brings you blessings. You should have a heart full of gratitude. It's true.
Absolutely.
So
I don't think there would have been
next
any
is
other reason why our session is happening. It could have been just gratitude, because I don't think we have met before this any time. We have not spoken, and it was a random post. And so somewhere this gratitude connects us and brings more like-minded people in our lives.
Absolutely. I believe also this, that when you have this gratitude in your heart and you have a certain vibration, and that goes into the universe and it exactly brings many folds to you. So that's how I am also not I cannot explain how people are connecting with me. Earlier it was like I was connecting with people, and now my inbox is full with I don't know. So many authors want to get interviewed, and it's really a blessing, I have to tell you.
Correct.
So
you're doing a fabulous job. You're doing a fabulous job.
Thank you so much. So sweet of you. Next, I want to know, and this question is also coming from. Let me just quickly check. I'm missing it. I think it has gone up, scrolled up. So the question is, what are your future projects?
So I'm writing my next novel currently, but because I'm halfway through. Only when I finish writing 90% of the book, I can talk about it. Till that time, I need my privacy to deal with it. But yes, there is a book that I have started writing long back.
Started brewing, and it must be a literary fiction.
It is not a literary fiction. This time it isn't. It is a story. It is a general drama that is taking place, but there is a lot of research that I have to currently do for this particular book. A lot of research, and I'm talking to new people. So I hope by year end I should be 2025. I should be done writing. It will take time.
So all my best wishes to you. And next, I would like to know. That among the short stories that you have written, which one is close to your heart?
There was one story that I wrote which resonated most with most people who read it. It was called as Hoary Longings, and Hoary Longings was a story of a prisoner who was transported from the Bhutan War, who is a prisoner in the Bhutan War. And the prompt for this particular story that we should have a penchant for a particular color, and I had picked up the color gray, and his life and the story alternated between his life and his mother's life. So Hoary Longings was the story, and most of my friends they liked it, and that is why maybe I also liked it. Another story which is very close to my heart is it involves it speaks of the clitoral tear that takes place in Muslim communities. So it is a kind of debate. So I had written about that story about how this community, they pursue it as a ritual, and I had written it from the point of view of a Muslim lawyer, a woman who is who's fighting the case, a daughter who has accused her mother of performing this ritual, and that daughter has lost all her sexual pleasures. So this lawyer is also a Muslim lady, and she is fighting the case on behalf of the daughter. So yeah, this is another story that is close to my heart. It is called as In Between the Fleshy Folds.
Okay, wow. I've read this huge article on the topic that you are just mentioning, that how do they perform this ritual, and it's so painful for them. They do it at such an early age that the girls are not even aware that what they have done, I mean, what they just faced. And throughout the I don't know exactly which segment of Muslim community this happens, but I also read an article. So
so Bohri Muslims practice it. Bohri Muslims practice it.
Trying to recall the name. Yeah. Okay.
And the best part of this story was that my story was later picked up by this community's magazine to be published in their community magazine. So a friend, I had to speak to a friend. She's also a doctor. She's a Bohri Muslim, and I had to how this particular process is done. And so she, after I wrote the story, I sent it to her, and she sent it to the president, or their Mumbai president, and that woman liked the story. They featured it in their magazine, their community magazine.
Wonderful. Wow. So you're doing a lot of egalitarian work as well through your writing, and also you are a volunteer for such a big NGO. So that's really commendable. Hats off to you. And the next question is that when it comes to reading, which genre you prefer the most?
Literary fiction, as I told you. Literary fiction is something that I love.
Particular theme like horror, thriller, or anything?
No, family dramas and love stories. Thrillers, suspense does not go well with me. But as I told you, I read it because I'm a student of creative writing, and as a textbook, I have to read them, so I read them. Yes.
Okay. And the last question is that who is your favorite author? Indian and international, both. I would be happy if you tell me.
So Indian author Ruskin Bond. Anytime. He writes such simple stories. There is you don't feel that there are stories where the writer tries to show his or her expertise in writing, which you come to know. Somebody, if he or she is trying to show off their writing skills through their stories, but this man, he writes such simple stories. They touch your heart. They make you smile, they make you cry. So Ruskin Bond is one author I love. And second is Harukumi. He because of the kind of Japanese author, the way he brings up his stories, he's fearless while writing. So that is something I love. I also love Amitav Ghosh. From the current writer I love, but there are many like that, but yes, these are the two I look forward to.
Yeah. So lovely having you today, Aparna. It was really wonderful talking to you, knowing so many aspects of your life, your personality. I hope the audience, they have also enjoyed it to the most. And please drop by and answer to the segments. They're all your friends here, fans here. And also, it was really a pleasure talking to you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So I was talking to Dr. Aparna. She's a consulting homeopath, and as you can see, she is a passionate writer, and 2 of her books are available on Amazon, and the link I will drop in description. And you can also connect with the author directly. I will also share her social handles, and please do follow us on Spotify and YouTube. This video is also going to be there. So this is Mona Lisa Joshi saying bye. Have a great evening all.